how much easier would it be to breathe if you didn't have that $400 car payment, $400 student loan that you've been dragging around for 5-6 years, praying for the government to finally forgive it? Is there anything worse than worrying about money? Like, how am I going to pay for this big expense coming up? Oh, the car broke again. How are we going to pay for that? What's that? What did Rocco eat? Well, just add it to the list. We have a running tab at the vet anyways. It's such a lousy feeling when something out of the blue or a big expense is coming your way and it actually keeps you awake. It literally used to keep me awake at night wondering, how am I going to pay for whatever it is that's coming up? Or even the feeling of being at the grocery store, getting ready to check out and saying to yourself, wait a minute, do I have enough money in that account? I used to live paycheck to paycheck, and you know what? So do most Americans, as it turns out. And that's horrible, and that's no way to live. As much as people say money isn't everything, it's pretty close. The way things are set up, money is a crucial ingredient to pretty much everything. Studies have shown a correlation between health and wealth. Think about it this way. To eat good, clean, organic food, for example, which is on average 7% more expensive, you need to have some extra money. Or think about it this way. The mental anguish and just the continued mental strain of being anxious all the time about money, that's going to weigh you down over the years. So if you find yourself worrying about how am I going to pay for this bill? How are we going to pay for Christmas 10 months from now? I used to be just like you. And when I got rid of that it's only money mentality, and I learned to respect it for what it is, a necessary tool, that put me towards, generally speaking, I think a healthier life, especially because I'm not worried about money anymore. So I'll tell you the 5 steps. Do me a favor first. Like and subscribe. Help me grow this channel so that Rocco and I can spread the good news of financial independence to other millennials. And we'll get right into it now. So the number one step to help you stop worrying about money is, first of all, you got to get real. This is about shaking any misconceptions you have about money and having a good level set about what it actually is. Maybe you hate money. Maybe you worship money, neither of which are healthy. You know, Dave Ramsey put it best when he said that the more money you have, the more it's going to amplify who you are as a person. If you're a really generous person, it's going to make you more generous. If you're a jerk, it's going to make you more of a jerk. Because look, money is a very, very powerful tool. It's to be treated with respect. It's not to be vilified. It's not to be feared. Once you realize that money is something that's either going to help you or hurt you, that helps you think in the way you need to think to lay out the roadmap to financial independence. And ultimately, financial independence and the road to it is what helps you stop worrying about money. The next thing you can do to make your financial burden easier is to start budgeting. Rocco, if I were to ask you exactly how much money you spend on something, you should be able to tell me. I mean, like, precisely, how much money are you spending on groceries? Do you know? Chances are, if you were like Jen and I, there's at least one thing in your budget that you're probably spending too much money on. For us, we discovered that it was going out, having fun. But we didn't realize that until we started tracking our spending. So you may think that you're only spending $400 a month on Amazon Prime, but as it turns out, you're actually spending $2,700 a month on Amazon Prime. And I like to use the analogy that financial independence is a road trip. And you know, if you're going to take a road trip, you need directions, and chances are you'd either follow a map or a GPS. Getting financially healthy is pretty much the same. You need to have a plan, a map for how to get there, and you need to follow the map. And if you don't follow the directions on the map, you'll end up God only knows where. And the next thing on the list is my favorite thing on the list. Get out of debt. You want to stop worrying about money? You want to start putting more money back in your pocket? Get out of debt. Jen and I paid off $97,000, mostly of student loans, in a period of about 10 months, and it was, no exaggeration, an absolute life changer. It didn't just change our pocketbooks, it changed us. But it took a lot of work, and frankly, it sucked. But we had our why we wanted to do it. We wanted to become financially independent one day. We wanted to stop worrying about money. Think about it this way. How much easier would it be to breathe if you didn't have that $400 car payment, $300 credit card payment, $400 student loan that you've been dragging around for 5-6 years, praying for the government to finally forgive it? Free yourself. You have to. You have no choice in this world. You have to become your own financial savior. And if you think to yourself, I can't, I am in a terrible financial situation, maybe you are, but there is something you can be doing better. There always is. Even if it's just putting a couple bucks towards your debt, that's still better than nothing. And you have to just do it, really, when it comes to getting out of debt. You can't complain and make excuses, because there will always be excuses for why you should still carry around the debt. Tell your family and friends, see you in a couple months, take up some extra work. If you have a car, I would highly recommend drive for Instacart. I drove for Instacart when I was getting out of debt. I found it to be a great way to make some side money. Maybe you like Ubering, maybe you like lifting, whatever. And as you start to devote yourself to it, it becomes easier. It starts to feel like a game. You're challenging yourself. And you're having this new experience inside of you where you're freeing yourself and you're becoming independent in a way that maybe you've never been independent before. Number 4, build yourself an emergency fund. This one in our household was an absolute game changer. At the moment, Jen and I are sitting on about 4 to 4.5 months of our household expenses that are just sitting in the bank. That's thousands of dollars just sitting there, not doing anything, not invested in anything, just there if we need it. We have that money should something happen because, hey, things happen. One of us gets laid off. A pandemic happens out of nowhere. Rocco eats something around the house again, or my truck spontaneously combusts. Jen. Knowing you have money in the bank for if and when something happens gives you some room to breathe. And I know what some of you may be thinking right now. I can't possibly save that much money up. I can't put that much money away. Okay, you know what though? Life's gonna happen. And let's go back to getting real. Your car is going to break. Your roof is going to start leaking. So in reality, you can't afford to not have an emergency fund. And if you really want to save an emergency fund in a matter of a couple months, treat it like an emergency. When something really bad happens down the road, you will thank yourself. And of course, if you really want to drop that anxious feeling about money, it helps to have a long-term plan. One of the biggest ways I've changed my life, I think just generally speaking, is in the last year or so, I stopped thinking short-term and started thinking more long-term. Like, how does what am I doing right now affect me in 5, 10, 30, 35 years? So instead of having another beer and instead of buying another guitar or staying up late, when I started thinking about how is this going to affect me down the road, those things started to feel a lot more stupid and a lot easier to not do. And this one's just kind of about hope. You want to have hope and you want to have optimism. And I think optimism is pretty damn easy when you have a clear picture of why you should be optimistic. And that's where long-term financial planning comes into play. We hooked up with a financial advisor once we got out of debt who got us on the path to becoming millionaires. Just to hear that I'm going to be a millionaire one day kind of rattled me, to be honest. I'll tell you what, where I come from, that's not a common thing you hear. You don't hear a lot of people walking around saying, hey, you know, if you invest steadily in a mutual fund or an index fund, you're going to be a wealthy person one day. For example, I was paying $300 towards my truck before I paid it off a month. That same $300 a month into a decent performing mutual fund, about 10% return over 35 years, bringing me up to 60, 65 years old. That's gonna pay out at $984,000. So yeah, it kinda is easy once you free up the cash and get out of stupid debt to get on the path towards becoming a millionaire, which ultimately is financial independence. It's doing the work you wanna do, spending your time the way you wanna spend your time. Money is not that complicated. Actually, the most difficult part about money is you. The most difficult part of money in my house is me. It's not even Jen, it's me. Having to tell myself sometimes, no, put the debit card down. But once you develop that discipline, which is difficult and does take time, you can lay out that roadmap towards a free and clear financial future, ultimately helping erase that feeling of financial stress and anxiety. So really at the core of all this is you. You have to figure out how are you going to put yourself in a position where you can stop worrying about money. And then you can take the worrying about money off of the table and start worrying about everything else there is to worry about in life. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. If you liked what you saw in the video today, check out the rest of my channel. We talk about money, we talk about wealth and health. Give me a like and subscribe, tell your friends, share on social media. As always, thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you next time.